welcome back to 6 and 6, where we cover 6 stories from around the world in 6 minutes or less. With that said, start your timer. We begin today in South America, where Javier Milei's libertarian policies have stabilized Argentina's economy but reduced inflation in generating a budget surplus, though these benefits are uneven to the public sector workers and pensioners struggling while private sector salaries have begun to outpace inflation. From Reuters, quote, "The policies of Libertarian President Javier Milei have done much to stabilize Argentina's long turbulent economy. Its notoriously high inflation has cooled, its currency controls have been torn down, and it has notched its first budget surplus in 14 years. Public sector salaries fell over 15% in real terms in the year after Milei took office in December 2023, a report from local consultancy CTA Autónoma calculated. Salaries aren't enough, and it's hard to make ends meet, but the drop in inflation in recent months has brought more predictability regarding expenses," end quote. Next, we go to Africa, where the Congo and Rwanda have submitted a draft peace proposal as part of the Trump administration-led initiative to end fighting in eastern Congo, with plans for Secretary of State Marco Rubio to meet with the foreign ministers to finalize a peace accord that would be accompanied by billions in Western investment. From Reuters, quote, "Congo and Rwanda have submitted a draft peace proposal as part of a process meant to end the fighting in eastern Congo and attract billions of dollars in Western investment," the U.S. President Trump's senior advisor for Africa said on Monday. Mosada Ombas, who is Trump's senior advisor for Africa in the Middle East, said on X on Monday that he welcomed the draft text on the peace proposal reached for both DRC and Rwanda, describing it as an important step towards peace. Next, we travel to North America, where Mexico's banking sector developments and main lender Banorte has backed away from making a bid for Banamex, Citigroup's retail unit in Mexico, despite previously showing interest during a recent earnings call, with CEO Marcos Ramirez saying earlier comments had been misinterpreted. From Reuters, quote, "Ramirez told analysts last month that Banorte was watching the unit's moves closely and would propose from there. Banorte in 2022 launched a bid to take over Banamex, but eventually withdrew, a decision analysts viewed favorably at the time. Citi was close to selling the unit to mining conglomerate Grupo Mexico for $7 billion, though tensions between the group and then-President Andrés Manuel López Obrador led to the deal falling apart," end quote. Next, we travel across the Pacific to the Philippines, where the Coast Guard has deployed vessels and aircraft to challenge a Chinese research vessel conducting what they claim is an illegal marine scientific research activity. From Reuters, their irregular movements were deemed inconsistent with freedom of navigation and indicative of marine scientific research activities, which violate the sovereign rights of the Philippines. Quote, "During the operation, the PGC reported spotting a manned deep-sea submersible named the Shenyang Yongzhe, or Deep Sea Warrior, which was retrieved by the Chinese vessel. The submersible is capable of diving 4,500 meters and is typically deployed for deep-sea exploration and scientific missions," end quote. To the south in Australia, the Australian election saw political engagement on social media plummet after Donald Trump's April tariff announcement, with podcast appearances by politicians drawing fewer listeners than expected. From Reuters, quote, "Australia's 2025 election was the first where all major party leaders went on podcasts and ran personal TikTok accounts, but voters largely tuned out of the online political discussion after the campaign began in March. Analysis conducted by Reuters showed an 84% decline in Australian election-related posts, likes, and comments from the start of April," end quote. And finally, we go to our friends up in China, where global commerce, Shenzhen and Temu advertising have started to shift, where they're actually focusing more on Europe now. From Reuters, Xi'an's Spending rose 35% in the France and UK, while PDP groups Temu increased spending by 40 to 20% month over month, respectively, according to Sensor Tower data provided exclusively to Reuters. The boost in advertising in Europe comes as retailers grapple with the U.S. Donald Trump ban on de minimis, a trade exemption that had previously allowed for packages valued under $800 to enter the country duty-free, end quote. And of course, if you want to read any of today's articles, all of the links will be provided down there in the description below the like and subscribe button. Also down there, you can find the podcast on Spotify, Pocket Cast, Podbean, as well as the Twitter handle at Your Daily Flip, where I post links to these episodes on Tuesday and Thursday, and the normal America Focus, the U.S. Focus podcast that comes out on Monday, Wednesday, Friday. So, with all that said, there's only one more thing to say. Stay safe, don't die.